Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Well, hello again, and welcome to episode 125 of There's Still Time, the AFTN podcast. I'm Michael McCall,
And I'm Steve Pander.
and yes, he's back, everyone.
Oh, and also we should mention that we are at the U18 Residency game. If you're noticing why there's a whole bunch of screaming, of
Yeah.
high-pitched screaming, some voices too.
I'm bad for never mentioning that when we kick these podcasts off, so hopefully you can hear us over the noise. That was just a Sacramento attack there. It's a bye week for the Whitecaps again. Really weird schedule. I mean, to have 10 days between the Houston and the Colorado games, then another 10 days MLS-wise between the Colorado and the Seattle game, bizarre at this time of year.
Yeah, it's basically 2 weekends off essentially in a row. It was fantastic for us. We got to do some stuff. But obviously, it weirds out the schedule. Also, you get less people coming to the games too, because that Colorado game was in the middle of the week.
Yeah, and it's like looking at the schedule for the rest of the season, there's a lot of Wednesday games between the Champions League, but also the two games against Dallas, the home and away series, are both midweek as well.
Yeah.
And now, by the looks of it, the Dallas game on October 14th in Dallas is going to be the day after Canada are playing a friendly against Ghana. So we're going to lose a few guys for that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see like who gets called up. Maybe they figure out. It depends on the injury situation. Tybert hasn't been being used in the starting lineup, so it might not be that difference.
But I thought for this episode of the podcast, we'll have a little quick look back at the Colorado game. Not a lot to talk about, especially in the first 70 minutes.
Yeah, let's just talk about the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, yeah.
You got the feeling during the game that it was just going to take the Whitecaps to get one goal, and then not so much the floodgates because they only got a second, but you did feel that if they got one goal, they were going to at least get another one. That's what happened. 2 goals in the space of 4 minutes. I was at one point a bit worried that goal wasn't going to come though.
It never looked dangerous for Colorado to score. Ousted, I think, maybe had one dangerous chance against Kevin Doyle.
Yeah,
before the goal was scored. So that was that one chance. But other than that, there was no danger at all. And the Rivero goal came from really out of nowhere. It was a great pass from Teixeira into the box, and he flicked it on really nicely. So it was an excellent goal to get, and it was a really important goal, especially for Rivero, to get his first open play goal in MLS at least in a while.
Yeah, since May 9th.
Yeah.
16 games had come and gone in MLS between him scoring against Philly and then getting that goal against Colorado. Brilliant headers, just shows you the aerial threat that he can be. And it's kind of surprising that he hasn't scored more header goals this year because he's clearly really good in the air. But the ball sent in from Teixeira, perfectly lobbed, perfectly weighted. Rivera did great to keep onside, beat the offside trap, put it away. And then once that went in, you could kind of see the Colorado heads going down.
Yeah.
Also, the defending from Colorado, for a team that is right behind the Whitecaps in the amount of goals conceded this year, like right at the top of the table in that regard, their defending in the second half and in the last 20 minutes was woeful.
Yeah.
And that's what led to the second goal as well.
I think it's a whole thing about depth, because if you look at both teams were missing, I think their best defenders. Drew Moore for Colorado and obviously Kendall Waston for Vancouver. But I think the depth was a big factor for Vancouver, because that's where I think that essentially was the difference in the defending, because Vancouver was pretty solid at the back while Colorado, like you said, was making mistakes. I said the goal came out of nowhere. We should mention that there was quite a bit of build-up into the goal. I think Froze was involved. Mane had a touch here and there. So it was a good team goal. It just was a fantastic finishes by Teixeira. Pass by Teixeira and a Rivero goal finish.
And like Robbo said after the game, and he also kind of mentioned it going into it, it was kind of like a banana skin game.
Yeah.
Because you're playing a team down the bottom, you're expected to win because you're at home, but you've had that 10 days break, so you don't know exactly how rusty that you're going to be. But I thought the Whitecaps handled the game well, especially with the key absences of that defensive core right in the middle of the park. You're missing Laba, you're missing Waston, and of course they're going to be missing Laba again for this game now against Seattle.
Yeah.
I was a little bit worried during the game that Kofi was going to pick up a second yellow. I think he was on his last warning by the end of it, and then he would have been out as well.
Yeah.
And you would just have had Tybert for facing Seattle, which wouldn't be good.
Flores or something, or maybe put Morales back in there, but that would, I don't know. But
yeah.
We should talk about that. How do you think that played out in there?
I was going to ask you about that as well. I didn't like it. A few folks seemed to think it was good, but I felt Colorado, with him playing deeper, it allowed Colorado to mark him a lot more.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if I'm marking him, but I think he felt like he needed to be on the ball too much, and I think I felt like he needed to make every pinpoint pass and spray the ball around too much instead of making the simple passes and working up the field. Now,
but he did do some great passes.
Now, I think the one issue is with him. I think it would have been a better option for him to play back if he's playing with Laba, because Laba it will sit in the box and give Morales more freedom. While Kofi, there's an opportunity for him to go up and attack as well. He might not sit back, so Morales might have been a little bit more hamstring and moving forward, so he felt like he had to sit back a lot more.
Yeah, very possibly. It was something that it's been talked about for a while. It was good to see it. Now we know it has potential, but it's not quite there for clicking. I don't feel Morales and Rosales on the park at the same time works as well as, say, having Mosquito up there with Rosales or somebody else. They just don't seem to be on the same wavelength. I don't know what it is.
It's very weird. It's two veterans.
Yeah,
too.
Rosales is on the same wavelength with every other player that he seems to play against, apart from Pedro. I don't know whether they're both just too creative, maybe that it just doesn't gel that well. But I thought Rosales did well in the number 10. Shame for Nico, he had an injury going into the game, and I would have been nice to see what he did, because he's been playing so well beside Teixeira and Rivero. And we can't not talk about Christian Teixeira.
Yeah, Teixeira was easily the man of the match.
Whitecaps Player of the Month for August, and definitely one of the MLS Players of the Month for August as well. Another goal for him, 5 now in the season, or 6 for the season, and a couple of assists as well. 4 just in the last few weeks as well, 4 goals.
Yeah.
He is on fire just now, and my worry with that is that he's on a season-long loan. We don't know whether it has a set agreed amount to the end of it, because obviously Sebastian Fernandez didn't have a set agreed amount to the end of it, and that's where the negotiations broke down in the off-season.
Which actually helped out, because that's the way they got Teixeira instead of just giving Fernandez.
You have to hope that maybe Carroll's going to try and pull the trigger early and get this deal done now, because you want him here next year. He's been a key piece. So much has been made of his height, which is ridiculous, because it's like it doesn't matter what height you are.
No, but he's got the mentality, like his goal, the goal he scored where Mane found him in the box. He was in the box. Like there's not very many guys that are 5'2" or 5'3" that, if he is even that actually go into the box and go into the physical areas. He doesn't shy away from that. He goes into the box, he picked up the ball, it bounced around a little bit, he still got control, and he fired it past him.
Well, yeah, like he thought he had lost it.
Yeah.
And you saw his shoulders went down, he was kind of like walking out the box when the ball then just broke to him, which was another example of poor Colorado defending, but great anticipation by Teixeira to then pounce on it, make something off it, and buried it fantastically.
Yeah.
And we joked about it after the Montreal game when Rivero had that tap-in from the goal line, or as Carroll referred to it after the game, that screamer that he got against Montreal. Yeah. But we joked that, it's maybe going to set him on a goal-scoring streak now. Well, 2-2 starts, maybe it has. And like we've said all season, you want him to find form at the right time, and finding form coming into the season running, that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, he had some close calls before.
So the win against Colorado was vital. gave the Whitecaps 3 points, put us back at the top of the Supporters' Shield race going into the weekend's matches.
And despite no gaze.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect weekend for the Whitecaps when you've got a bye week and you're still top of the Supporters' Shield standings and the Western Conference by the end of it.
Yeah.
Great set of results on the whole. Dallas winning was kind of the only sort of fly in the ointment. It moves to Dallas into second place in the Supporters' Shield standings, point behind Vancouver with a game in hand. Not too concerned about that though, because we still have 2 games to play against Dallas, home and away.
The Seattle San Jose game was huge.
Yeah, not in a Supporters' Shield standings way, but just in a who's not going to make the playoffs kind of way.
No, in a way too, because it basically gets them closer to clinching the playoff spot. Because both those teams are basically they're the ones on the outs right now, and they've dropped points again.
I mean, officially the Whitecaps just need 9 points to clinch that playoff berth.
Yeah, that's the magic number.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the official number. Really, they are in it. There's no way that they're not going to be in the playoffs now. But it's just whether they finish top 4 or top 2.
Well, no, also that helps because those teams could have finished in the top 4 as well. So, potentially, because there are
for playoff positioning, that draw in San Jose 1-1, very big, and there is a good chance that I think my dream of both Seattle and Portland not making the playoffs is still on, but it's not huge.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see both of them, I think, finishing in the playoff spots with the way that the season's going to go. Salt Lake got a crucial win yesterday against Houston, which really hit Houston's hopes, but kind of brings them back into it. At the other end of the table, New York Red Bulls are, for me, still the favourites for the Shield. 45 points, 3 points behind the Whitecaps just now, from 26 games, so 2 games less. If they win their games in hand, 51 points and a 3-point lead. But they've got some tricky games coming up, so it's not at the stage yet where it's all in the Whitecaps' hands, but 2 weeks' time, if the Whitecaps can get the wins in the next couple of games, depending on how the other results play out, we could be going into the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season where the fate of the Supporters' Shield and the Western Conference Championship is in the Whitecaps' hands. And that, I think, exceeds all expectations going into the season.
Oh, for sure. The pickups of Rivero, I think, exceeded, especially at the beginning of the season. That's where they picked up a lot of points. The road form is a big thing.
The road form's been the key, along with no summer slump.
Yeah, and then Teixeira now in the summertime, he's been the one that's been carrying the load. And Manny's a development too. So those 3 things. And then you got the defense playing very solid, a guy like Parker. Nobody expected those things to happen. So, it's a fantastic summer for them, and hopefully they can keep it going through the season.
And I also think the way the Whitecaps have played, it's good for these, I don't want to say smaller teams because we're not a small club, we are a big club, but for the mid-range, not super wealthy.
Yeah.
The Whitecaps have taken this season by storm without spending the money on a big star name player, without Toronto 20 million or something on 3 designated players. Ridiculous. And they're still not guaranteed that they're going to get a home playoff game out of it.
Yeah.
They should get the playoffs. That's I've kind of resigned myself to that fact now.
Yeah.
But
I think we could have all 3 Canadian teams if you think of it.
Yeah, I mean,
but your point to LA too. LA's spent a ton of money.
Yeah,
although I don't know how they've worked the numbers this year.
That was the other big result this weekend. Montreal drawing with LA. Both teams had goals disallowed. And Montreal really took the game to LA, which surprised me because a lot of teams go to LA and sit back. Yeah. Drogba was pretty much unnoticeable in the first half, but then kind of really came onto his game in the second half. So, yeah, all 3 Canadian teams could be in the postseason. And I just do feel that the way the Whitecaps have gone about building their squad, it is a good message to the rest of the league that you don't have to go out and spend all that money to be successful. And spending money does not guarantee success, as we can see with New York City FC.
Oh, for sure. You were trumpeting them since the beginning of the season.
I thought they would do well. I thought Villa would be the MVP of the season.
Well, he still could be. He scored quite a few goals, but if they don't make the playoffs, he probably won't be. But I think the expansion team, the whole expansion team, you can't get a team together in that first year. All those you have to build that up slowly, and it's just not overnight success. Only a few teams have done that.
Also, New York City's made that mistake of stacking their team in attackers and offensive midfielders, leaving the back woefully short, and that's what's cost them this year. And Kyle Robinson's done the opposite. He's built his team on a solid defensive footing.
And then plugged in attacking players.
Yeah, I mean, like 11, 12 clean sheets now over the year. Ousted's fantastic. The whole back four, like Kaz come in and done great beside Waston. Parker's done well beside Waston. And he's built this team on a defensive footing. Yeah, it's maybe 1-0 and 2-0 wins, and it's not got the excitement factor that a 4-3 victory has. But I'd rather take that at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure.
So, of course, getting to first place in the Supporters' Shield is one thing. Staying there now for the remaining 6 games is another. We've talked about the bizarre schedule with the big gaps that we've had in between. But Whitecaps next back in action on Wednesday. Champions League, CD Olimpia, the Hondurans are coming to town. And the way that is sitting just now, this is another competition that the Whitecaps could take by the scruff of the neck on Wednesday. They need to get a win. And if they can get a win by a couple of goals, it's going to put them in pole position to qualify for the quarterfinals.
How strong a team do you think they'll bring to Vancouver? Do they think they bring their first team?
It's hard to say. I mean, they have got a great chance of winning the group, which is what they're going to want. But they'll be happy to come and just frustrate the Whitecaps, kind of play like Colorado did last week, and like try and go for the draw. They'll be happy with a 0-0 draw if they can get away with that. Maybe hit on the counter, basically kind of play the kind of game that the Whitecaps play on the road in MLS is what they're going to come and do, but kick us off the park at the same time.
Probably.
And if you look at the way that the group standings are at the moment, Olympia played 2, 3 points. Seattle played 3, 4 points. Vancouver played 1, 1 point. So if the Whitecaps can win, there'll be 4 points from 2 games. It would mean if they then go to Seattle and win in Seattle, they've then won the group.
Yeah, they don't need to
do
anything.
So they can send the scrubs over to Olympia, which is great because it's right in a prime time of the season.
Yeah.
But even if they go to Seattle and get a draw, if they can get enough goals against Olympia for the goal difference,
that might not make a difference.
Yeah, it should still hopefully set them in good stead as well. I'm confident it's what kind of team that Carl Robinson's going to put out there because, of course, 4 days later, Seattle come to town.
Yeah, what I think is I think Maddox starts up top.
I think coming back from 2 goals away with Jamaica again, going for Jamaica once more, 2 goals in that very squeaky bum win over Nicaragua that finally got them through to the next round of the CONCACAF.
And maybe he does better against these because he obviously been scoring against Latin American countries, but maybe he does well against the Latin American team. So maybe I think he starts up top.
Well, I think we'll see
Mosqueda hamstring. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean he was touch and go for the game against Colorado. We've got another week now. I would be amazed if he doesn't start in the number 10 role. So I can definitely see him starting.
Bustos and Froze alongside him.
Well, Froze seemed to get a lot of plaudits from the Colorado game. I didn't actually think he was that good, but I mean everyone was raving about him. I need to watch that game.
I think he had moments, and I think that people are looking at the way he built up the play, especially for the first goal. But I think Froze and Bustos, you think on the wings, or everybody's been touting Bustos.
Bustos has definitely put himself in the frame. 7 goals now in USL play. He's definitely put himself in the frame. He's going to see minutes. Whether he gets to start depends on whether Carroll thinks he can get the win by going for a lighter lineup. At the back, I think we'll see Dean and Parker in the centre, Ari Cookby on the left, Smith on the right. So it's going to be a young defence.
I'm thinking maybe do they play Waston for 45 minutes and then bring in Dean in the second half, only because Waston has been off.
Well, he did have that rest. I mean, but we should see Laba because I think
Laba's definitely
he's not going to play against Seattle, so he's definitely going to play.
Do you think Tybert or Flores? Flores is probably going to be playing alongside him because he's playing against Olympia. Probably mostly Honduran players would be used to that kind of game.
Well, he's going to be used to the very physical side of it, which again Kendall would be as well, coming from Costa Rica. So I think the Whitecaps need to have a physical team out there because they are going to get pushed around, they are going to get kicked, and we've seen like Bustos has picked up a lot of yellow cards. He's feisty. We know that Froze is feisty. So you want to have players in that lineup that are ready for a battle.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do though is tire players out or have players pick up injuries going into the Seattle game, because that's huge for Supporter Shield standings, for winning the Cascadia Cup for an unprecedented 3rd straight time. It's another tough balancing act for Kyle Robinson. I don't think we'll see the likes of Morales and Rosales starting, but I think we could see them off the bench.
Yeah, but I do think, like I said, I do think because they've had a week off, right? So, but I think personally, I think Waston's going to start. I think you got Waston with Parker, and then if the game's in hand, I think he comes off at like the 60th minute or so, or maybe at the halftime.
Definitely going to be one to watch. I'm confident they're going to get it done. I just think they're going to click, and I see a 3-0 victory.
Yeah. And then how about Seattle? Obviously, a chance to win. We were talking about Supporter Shield. You get the Cascadia Cup up for grabs on Saturday.
Yeah, like I was just saying, unprecedented 3 in a row. That would be. It's going to be tough. I mean, Seattle against San Jose on Saturday, they didn't look much at all, but Obafemi Martins is the guy to watch. He's the guy you want to kick in early and like get him to hobble off.
We'll get him frustrated.
Well, you want to frustrate him. I want him to hobble off.
And then, but they will be up for it because there will be a lot of Seattle fans up here, as usual. They already sold out that game, so I think that's gonna be a tricky one. I think that's pretty. Well, I have confidence against Olympia. I think this one's going to be 50-50, and we'll see if they can pull it off.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a draw. What you don't want to do is let Seattle get on the board early like they did the last time, and you
got to watch out for Chad Baird, right?
Yeah. Martins is definitely going to be the key.
Yeah.
And like Dempsey's just not himself since he came back. I'm not even that worried about him, but he does link up well with Martins. But if they can get 3 points for Olympia, 3 points from Seattle, huge 6 points in 4 days, and you're looking that they've set themselves up fantastically for the season ahead. And this could really be such a special season for the Whitecaps, and we need to kind of take a step back and enjoy what we've got, because seasons like this don't come along all that often.
Hopefully they keep coming because with Robbo, the way he's building the team.
Well, that was something I was going to ask you. So looking at all the success that the Whitecaps have had this season and the success that could be to come, let's just leave with pondering over this little scenario. Do you think Kyle Robinson will still be Whitecaps coach next season?
I think there is a good chance he might be. Right now, at this point, if nothing else has succeeded, like no Supporter Shield, no MLS Cup, there is a chance he'll probably be, I think better chance he'll be here. But if he keeps going on and keeps getting more trophies and everything like that, and somebody's going to notice him. I think people have already noticed him, but I think people will notice him more, and I think then he'll probably go to a championship team that's maybe mid-table in the championship right now. They're struggling, and they'll probably look for somebody's looking for a coaching change in January.
I think if the Whitecaps go deep in the playoffs, I mean, not necessarily even winning the MLS Cup or win the Supporter Shield, but I think he's done enough to get the notice of folk back home. And there was an article this week in The Guardian on him, so I mean the newspapers and the media there are taking an interest in him as well. And he's the kind of young manager that would be a dream for a number of championship teams. Like you say, a mid-table team, maybe a bottom of the table team that is struggling, they need a managerial change, someone that can add a new bit of spark. I think if one of his old clubs, someone like Wolves came in for him, or even Cardiff City, he'd be off in a flash. But I just sense he is going to get an offer, and it's whether he feels that it's an offer that's too good to turn down. The other thing with that, though, is like here, he's had his success with building from youth, and that is maybe not going to be something that happens in the championship. You're going to be somebody that has to spend to get success and compete with some of that. A League One or League Two side would be better for a manager that likes to build with youth players, but I think that's too big a step down from MLS for him to do that. So it is a little bit of a quandary for him, because he could go back to the UK and go to a club and fail, and that's going to do more damage for his managerial career than anything else.
Yeah, you got to be careful about what spot you pick out. Like, do you have the support of the board or whoever's running the team there?
And it's a whole different atmosphere with the fans as well, because the fans want instant success.
Yeah.
It's not patient, and it's a lot more abusive than he's going to have had over here.
Oh, for sure. And then like I was thinking about the board. People are talking about the committee or whatever here. Their committees in England, if there is a committee that runs that team, are more vicious than this one, and they'll look at everything. The bottom line, basically, they want success.
Well, you've got the board of directors at every club, which is basically like the committee here. And for all the faults that we can find with the committee, Carroll does have pretty much free rein with what he wants to do.
It's not like that over there with some of them.
The other thing as well to think about is he didn't really want to get into coaching when he did. It was a 7-year plan he had of being an assistant and then becoming a head coach. And then 2 years into that plan, he became a head coach. Yeah. So he might feel that it's just too big a jump. But it's definitely going to be something that he's going to have to think about. Now,
but you have to strike while the iron's hot too, because you can't when you're having this much success in Vancouver. If somebody comes from your like you said, Cardiff or Wolverhampton, you're going to have to take it.
Well, that's the other thing as well, because this could be his dream season, and then next season he doesn't take a position elsewhere, struggles with the Whitecaps, and then his value has kind of dipped a little bit. I just have this sense that someone is going to come in for him. But Carroll is planning ahead already for the Whitecaps for next year. He has players lined up that he's got coming in January. I believe he's going to have a look at Victor Blasco from the USL side in pre-season camp, and maybe a few others as well.
And I'm sure he's got people lined up coming in from, because players like Diego Rodriguez, those loans are going to be up, so they're not going to spend DP money on these guys to keep them here. So I think those guys are probably going to be up for going back, and then they'll find some other players that come in at that point to replace those.
But that's a discussion for another day, and we'll maybe have another one of our round tables soon to do that. So as we said, we've recorded this podcast at the Residency home opener. A tough draw for the Whitecaps under-18s against Sacramento Republic, but a lot of talent on display, so it's going to be good to watch the Residency guys this year. And of course you can follow all our Residency coverage on AFTN.ca. And talking about where you can find stuff, Steve, let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me at Whitecaps Beat on Twitter, and I'm writing for AFTN.ca.
I'm Michael McCall. You can follow me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read all our stuff away from the numbers on AFTN.ca. Best Whitecaps coverage around. Everything from the first team down to the Residency you'll find on AFTN.ca. I'm also the Whitecaps beat reporter for MLSsoccer.com, so read all my Whitecaps coverage on that. And watch out for a special piece that I'm doing on MLS this week, just about the youth development of the Whitecaps. It's a massive, I think 1,700 word article which we've got coming up. And it's going to tie in with the MLS Soccer's 24 under 24 series. But that's it for this episode of There's Still Time. We'll be back soon. So until then, thanks for listening. Take care. And mon the Supporters Shield leading Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left, yeah, but